Hello, friends. Welcome to Sathology Debunking Mythology. Today's session is why, we were talking about the Hindus, that why Hindu voices are continuously rising and speaking for their own rights across the world, whether it's the US or other parts of the world, where they're speaking for themselves and also trying to be assertive in their own way. So we have very special guest. You all know him very well. In fact, he's one of the very well-known figures on our YouTube channel, Sathology YouTube channel. So without delay, let us welcome Sri Ratan Sharda ji. Namaskar.
Namaskar, namaskar.
After a long time,
Yeah.
so this is a little bit small break we had. So Ratanji, we have seen that in the US politics also, we have seen that how Hindus are coming together and there is a big movement towards Republicans. And there are spiritual reasons for it, and there is obviously a reason which is necessitated by Democrats themselves. In India, also, we see that Hindus are coming together for their own rights. It was a time earlier where Hindus used to be proud to call themselves secular, but now they realize that secularism is only for them; it's not for anyone else. Everyone else in India is communal in a way. Now, in terms of globally also, I have seen that in reports from Brazil and other places, Brazil has a large Hindu population, and most of them are now demanding Hindu Sattvic food rights in Brazil now. That's another movement going on. So, what is this? Why it has started, and what is this right now, according to you?
Aditya ji, actually, as you said, as people say in Hindu philosophy, we don't believe in linear time. We believe in cyclical time. So most of the philosophers talk about the Kal Chakra. When you talk of Kal Chakra, it means that a time comes when things, what is on the top goes on the side. What has been down comes up. So civilizations also move in the same way. India was the top of civilization since about 4 BC at least, that is recorded. We will not get into Puranic Kals, but starting from 4 BC with Chandragupta Chanakya, right up to 1850 when India was economically a superpower, and despite the continuous attacks of Mughals and destruction of the local civilization, Indian civilization, we survived and thrived. So that strength of civilization has revived itself. This revival started with the arrival of Swami Ramakrishna Paramhans and Swami Vivekananda. So, in these last 175 years, we have seen the effort of all these people who built a huge cultural evolution in the society. We slowly built up this feeling of our own strength, our own narrative, in spite of very strong current of Western British influenced historians and Indology who tried to demonize us, tried to put us down as a very weak and very useless race. But truth was elsewhere. So slowly that truth has come out. And Hindus have started realizing that just sounding good boys because the Westerns want us to will not take us anywhere. We have to assert our identity. We have to assert our right over our intellectual property, over a knowledge system which has been used by everybody but given different names. So that is one of the reasons. Other is that in the name of secularism and political correctness, the right forces have been subdued and they have not been allowed to come up. So that is the kind of resentment that is building on the ground, whether in India or elsewhere. For example, this political correctness made people of Sweden and various European countries invite people who don't believe in inclusive society. And you see what is happening in Sweden, what has happened earlier in Belgium and France. So all these movements that are built up, all this momentum that is built up with such forces who believe that only they can rule the world and only they have the right to faith, has created a kind of groundswell into people in West who had left religion, in people in India where they believed only in personal religion but are ashamed to be socially Hindu. Now they realize that if they have to survive as a society, they must assert themselves. And to tell you, actually, this movement of Hindu phobia started way back in USA. It started actually by Max Miller and others, but it was picked up later by the Western universities in UK, USA, And that is how this false and hateful narrative about Indian civilization, about Hindu civilization, was distorted to such an extent that people wondered whether it's some kind of evil cult. In the later period, I would just talk of one particular book called Invading the Sacred, which was edited and compiled by Mr. Rajiv Malhotra, who was the first to challenge the Western hegemony on the Indology field of Western world. And it took him a lot of time to put up this fight, while he was derided as a non-academic, etc. But our people just have to read Invading the Sacred. I think that is available today in free PDF form. Also, I would request all your students to download that book and read and see how in a very devilish and very mocking way our religion and our symbols have been presented in the book. For them, the Hindu knowledge doesn't go beyond eroticism. So this I say, sometimes that these are the kind of people who go to Khajuraho or go to Konark temple, and they get so much stuck with the eroticism on the outside walls, they forget the spirituality inside. They never can reach inside. So if you go to this 2007 book of Invading the Sacred, you'll be surprised how our most revered gods and goddesses are represented. I won't even describe, because that is something you must discover. It's a very hateful way. Then there was one Kirpal. What was his name? He was, he's Kirpal, who has written a book on. See, what they do is they're doing Freudian psychoanalysis of hermeneutics, of Hindu saints, Hindu philosophy, but they would never dare to do it for either Islam or Christianity. This is the only field where non-Hindus dominate the narrative of Hindu dharma. Is it possible to have a seminar on Hindu or Indology or Hindu culture without any equal representative on the side of Hindus? So Ramakrishna Paramas becomes I would not use the word, I feel so insulted. The way he has been psychoanalyzed by people who never talk to the right people. A book that actually countered this particular book of Kirpal was not allowed to get published, nor it was given any space in their libraries. So this is the kind of environment that we live in, where they will decide what is our religion, what is our culture. So people are quiet, but that movement since 2007 has built up in USA also. And slowly people are realizing that Hindu is not what is taught. If you remember, in Texas, there was a case against the education department for representing Hindus in a very bad way. And this is the only religion which has outsiders deciding what is happening inside. They would not dare to do it either for Islam or Christianity. And authorities should be the people who know the religion. You cannot map a 10,000-year-old civilization on a civilization of the Western world is still trying to find feet. You cannot have the complex civilizational values of Hindus being mapped by, Islamic or church creations, which are just a few hundred years old. So how can they decide what is our cosmology, what is our knowledge system? And they will rob what is good of us, and they will try to deride what we have. So this particular continuous attack on Hindu psyche, on Hindu belief system, has slowly awakened the Hindu people that we need to respond. RSS chief Raju Bhaiya was asked in BBC in UK many years back that, are you promoting aggressive Hinduism? He said, no, we are not aggressive, we are assertive. So the word we talked about at that time now comes true, that we have to become assertive. And as you know, the last book on the Delhi riots is what created all this environment. And a record time, 2 days, 30,000 copies are sold. And a Western publisher pulped the book after it was published. So that is what has symbolized the way Hindus are fighting back now.
No, very good point. And I think one of the problems in
Yeah, his name is Jeffrey Kirpal, a
Jeffrey,
Trinidadian guy, and he has written this horrendous book.
Jeffrey Kripal. In fact, you said
Yeah.
that.
And if you try to look at at Hindus through Christian lens, naturally any idolater is a devil, is a Satan. That is the way they burned they burned women on the stakes. They murdered people in the name of Inquisition because they were Satans. They were believing in heathen gods and all that. So that exactly is psychology on which entire observation is done on the Hindu dharma.
No, you are so right, because the Indologists, the Western Indologists, have been far influenced by the evangelical church and also the Islamic clergy.
Yeah, lately now, because funds come from Islamists now.
Yeah.
That
So
is the reason.
the opposition to Hinduism in the West now more comes from Islamic or leftist
Yes.
media influenced by Islamic, which is nothing but the Pakistani and the ex Indian exile Muslim uh, population mostly. So so-called Indian Muslims living in USA or Indian Muslims or Pakistani Muslims and or Bangladeshi Muslims also. They are the ones leading this propaganda against Hinduism in the USA. I can say for sure. In the UK also the same thing has been seen, and that's why we are trying to hyphenate Indian Indian Americans and say
Yeah, see,
Hindu
this is
Americans.
funny that they will try to merge the Hindu identity. In first, they try to do it in UK, calling them Asians. Then they try to do now calling them South Asians. Sir, we are too big for South Asia. We are very different from the other countries and other communities. There is no way you can merge the identities to score points and try to put down the Hindu people of India, our Bharat Varsha. So
See
that
the
is where the problem is.
see the British Hindus had a tough time, but I think with the new conservative leadership, they might question that. But I think that is lacking now. Even the British elected Hindu officials, they are not able to remove the Asian tag because that Asian tag is deep rooted, and it was a plan by the British Commonwealth to club them as
Yeah.
Asian. And so the only way it can happen is if India leaves the British Commonwealth in protest. And India, then only if they're going to listen. Now, second thing is because I think the current government in India is very good and they can take the tough decision. In the US, the problem is with big
No, the
boys.
point is, what is Commonwealth? Commonwealth is wealth of common people of the world looted by British. And when you loot them and suck them off, then you call them a Commonwealth.
No, it's
It was a
called
joke
British
that it was
Commonwealth.
there, and our
It's a,
people very slavishly accepted it. Because
actually,
it is nothing but a club
it's a club. It,
where the king and the queen sit on a high chair, and we the ruled people, the colonized people, still have colonized mind and still bow to those wishes. It is actually an insult to the all the countries who got freedom from Britain.
this has been advocated long back, and I think India has to initiate Dharma Commonwealth because it's called British Commonwealth. It's like ex-colonies of Britain, and that's a very shameful epithet on India.
Yeah,
Shameful. Yeah,
it is just like our historians glorify Mughals, and on the other side we say British looted India for so many trillion pounds, and we still want to have a commonwealth. Our wealth, all the commonwealth looted by the British. So that thing that is very illogical.
very logical. And I think if India comes out of that CHOGM and British Commonwealth, then I think it will be good for India.
In
Nothing.
fact, all the mythical societies, all the mythical organizations, all the feel-good organizations which have no meaning left should be either abolished or reorganized. Whether it's UNO, whether it's UNSC, all these are nothing but debating clubs and cozy clubs where you come. Even Davos, for example, what does it serve? Does it serve in purpose apart from enjoying the snowy weather? What do you get out of those costly Davos, features? You just go there to show that you were there. It's a privileged club. So all these clubbiness should go, and we should have practical organizations and practical organizations which serve some purpose.
So in the UK, you said a very important thing that when you say the British Commonwealth and also the leftist organizations nowadays, these leftist organizations have are become the front face for the Islamic global Ummah,
Yeah,
and they're picking back
it's
on
very
them.
funny.
And
Yeah,
and and they say, and Davos is one classical example. And any UN office in Europe, particularly Geneva. Now, any UN office in Geneva, it's filled with Turkish who have become anti-Hindu completely, and it's purely religious. No anti-India. They're very clearly anti-Hindu. In fact, they claim so. Turkey has become the new leader of the Islamic world, along with
yes,
Pakistan. So now two terrorist countries our leader. Turkey is a big terrorist. They killed 1.5 million Armenian
Yes.
Christians. They are the one under Erdogan. They have become like a big terrorist, Islamic terror leaders, and that's why
Yeah.
Saudi, UAE, and the Arabs who think that they are the original Islam, they are going against Turkey and Pakistan. They recently removed. It's a Islamic geopolitics within their own organizations, in their own
Yeah.
countries,
In
and
fact, coming out of coming of UAE along with the USA and move towards Israel is another historic step, like the one taken earlier by Jordan and Egypt. It is equal to that particular step where the typical GCC, the typical vehicle of the modern day Islam, has parted company, and more may part the company. You'll not be surprised, because how long can you keep on fighting with the ghost of an enemy?
exactly,
Imagine the entire struggle of Israel, Palestine, and Lebanon. That belt was that they didn't want to, they didn't recognize Israel at all, and they just wanted to keep on somehow destroy Israel. So that entire problem in Middle East arising out of the same mindset, which has seen the lack of peace all over the world.
exactly. So coming back to the Hindu voices who refuse to be silenced now, and which is a good thing because it's the first time Hindus are thinking in a very international way. Or the narrative of the Western Indologists, academics, and the textbooks, none of them have been changed. Hindu community has opposed and everything, and I think this is the first time Trump has made an organization called Hindu Coalition of Trump for
Okay.
Hindus. And I think that's a and he has very smartly separated them out from Indians, separated them out from Sikh, and which both are small numbers. If you look at Indian Americans, if you include Hindus, then it becomes a big number. But when you say just American Hindu, it's a much bigger number. Because you have American converts, your Fijians, your Bangladeshi, Pakistani. It's a stronger coalition in the U.S. when you call yourself a Hindu, American Hindu. And
Even the assertion of Hindu identity was begun in USA by Tulsi Gabbard, who is not an Indian Hindu.
correct,
And the way, when we assert ourselves, the way she was abused, the way she was sidelined, tells us what is going wrong with Democrats who have gone ultra left. And can you imagine that people who oppose this kind of narrative are called ultra nationalist Hindus and fascist and militant just because they want true picture of Hindu Dharma? They are not even trying to say that, you remove everything and you don't even talk about us and we will only decide what we want to say. We want an equal right of narrative and we want to present our narrative. That's all they're saying. Still, they are called names. When you criticize these people, the so-called scholars like Wendy, we are told that they are militant, Hindu voices, but they will not respond to any logical question. Same thing
of
that happened with the book in India, which was pulped by Bloomsbury, UK basically. So same assertion of other non-left not having any voice. Who are they and how dare they? The brown, natives. How can they talk about their civilization? How can they dare to oppose our viewpoint? That thinking has not gone. There is deep racist apartheid. There is deep religious apartheid and intellectual apartheid, which is what we are fighting, whether USA, India, or any other country, and we will succeed because we have reason on our side. We have got 10,000 years of knowledge on our side. We just have to be patient and keep on presenting the positive side, and this false narrative will fall out. As I said, in USA started in 2007, in India it started just recently. Although Hindu bodies are there for a long time, assertion started visibly, you could see only recently, and now this, whether it's this narrative of 370 or giving asylum to minorities from the Islamic countries, people are slowly asserting that yes, we need to support our own civilization, we need to support our own persecuted people. Why not? So this refusal to be cowed down, or refusal to be shamed, is what will now change the narrative.
yes, I think they are feeling the heat now, and they'll keep complaining, and we're going to feel the heat in a big way. So, and Democrats under Joe Biden, which is led by some Pakistani, somebody, I don't even know their names, and I don't want to know also. So these people, they have uh, formed a narrative, and actually, the court after court this is the first time American Hindus, which are white Hindus, they are fighting to protect their own identity. Like just last week, Tulsi Gabbard, she said that she was kicked out of presidential campaign because of Hindu phobia. Very openly, she
Yes.
said. And she did not mince the words. And I think that's the exactly the
She was
attitude.
not called in the finals. She was not called even on the stage, although she had gained good votes.
Yeah.
How insulting that can be. And more you insult, the more assertive you will be. And Hindus of America must realize you cannot kick you around and then still accept their votes.
No,
You are
there are
expecting them to vote for you while you kick them around and call them names, whether it's India or Kashmir, and support Pakistan. It will not work. You
so
cannot, the time of Hindus getting kicked and still voting for the masters is gone. No, it will not work. And Hindus contribute a very big chunk of GDP of USA. They've been loyal citizens. They have worked for the well-being of the country. They will not take in line. I'm very sure of that.
no,
Old traditional Indians may still talk of Democrats when they were good old Democrats who were centrists. But now with this entire Democratic getting the hand of ultra Marxists and leftists in the name of Black Lives Matter or Pakistan or whatever it is, they have become totally ultra left. They have lost the control of the party, and that I don't think US citizens will accept that finally.
no, the American Hindus, they are the ones, so our attorneys, most of the attorneys are American Hindus. And they are going in the courts and they have full knowledge of Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. And then when they go in the courts and tell, like recently there was a case by Cisco, and it was again a ploy. They pick up one Indian and somebody who is claims to be a Dalit, which is again done by Christian missionaries, prep them up and complain against the bosses who are Brahmin. And behind that, there is a money of the Islamic Ummah. So Islamic Ummah, Christian missionaries combined together, they put a lawsuit against Cisco, and they want to bring in
Yes.
a word called caste. They said caste, the word caste is a racist term and should be across the all the companies in the that is the big conspiracy, huge conspiracy. And I think the heat that they got from this, where now many Hindu organizations joined Cisco and said there is no caste system. There is no, the word caste doesn't exist in the Hindu society. It's a Portuguese word, Portuguese Christian term, which was
Right.
again used for the European class system. The word casta, from which the English word caste
Oh,
comes,
yes.
it was not used for Hindu. It was like a derogatorily used for the Hindu only, because when you search now, caste is only used for Hindus right now.
Yeah,
But
in fact,
actually, it
if you
was
remember in some talk with you, I had talked about that every society has stratification, classification, or categorization of people on various factors, which is not correct. At least in our civilization, when we talked of Varna, we talked it based on our profession, our
correct.
liking. It was not based on my birth, but somehow it got distorted. We disowned it, and we moved ahead. And you cannot force that kind of identity on us. See, this entire game, if you look at whether it's India or US or even now today in Europe, the axis of ultra left, neo left, the destructive elements, then you have what Islamist theology, Islamist thoughts, and you have Marxist communists every shade. They have formed an alliance across the world, and it is very funny alliance where they are actually out to destroy each other basically, but they have aligned themselves first to destroy the most solid group of people who can actually fight those destructive ideologies.
No, both, see the
What is worse, see, the most totalitarian ideologies are communist, Islamist, and even Christianity of the classic Christianity. I will not of this, the current Christianity, but the classic Christianity. And if that has turned into a moderate voice, you have this Islamist and communist religions which are totally totalitarian, which don't want others to exist and any other believer to exist, while Christianity moved out of the particular mold and has liberalized itself, these two simply refuse to liberalize. So this alliance is very dangerous because it wants to first destroy the real liberal voices who believe in pluralism and then fight it out with each other. Where they can fight out. It has happened in Russia. The communists had an upper hand. In China, the communists have an upper hand. In Middle East countries, the Islamists have a bigger hand, the upper hand. Where are communists in Pakistan? They have left Pakistan. They have gone to Canada. They have gone to USA. They have left the country because there is no voice there. So this is bound to happen. But the forces which want pluralism and democracy to survive must come together. and must expose this game of ultra left and ultra right, dominance, which is basically fascist thought. It doesn't allow anybody else to exist.
One recent phenomena is you just took the example of Bloomsbury, India, and the Bloomsbury UK, which publishes Harry Potter. Now, take that organization for example. Now, Potter, we know it's a fictional study, and it's a fictional story which is still talking about the old Christian ideals or the Christian dreams, and
Yes.
that is the fables of Christianity. And so, Harry Potter is a symbolical way of presenting evangelicals. So it's the same old theory, ideology, and given by the same theories of zombies and all these things. These are all coming from Bible. Now, very well received. So it's a silent attack of Christianity on the non-Christian population because we have a different way of storytelling, Purana. At the end of the day, it should result in character building. Now,
Yes.
and there is a message. Many times people argue who came first or what was the date of Mahabharata and Ram. But the point is that the message of Ram and Krishna is sometimes more important than the
Yeah.
dating part of it. Even though dating does help in faith building, but it's not the only thing. Because
See, the tricky part is, as Rajiv Malhotra pointed out and other scholars also pointed out, that for Hindu, it doesn't matter whether the gods existed or they are Puranic or so-called mythical. Their message is important. If that message helps me attain moksha or liberation from this world with the knowledge and with the bhakti and with the knowledge or karma, then I'm fine whether Krishna existed 5,000 years back or 10,000 years back or did not exist in the world of West. But for us, the lessons are important, and those lessons have been imbibed by Indians for thousands of years. And there are so many proofs. That is a different issue. There are so many proofs, and which tell us that the history was true, and Puranas are basically a little exaggerated form of telling history because all other dates and all those areas match. If you open the India's map, you'll find all the Vedas and Puranas brightly marked out across Bharat. The old Bharat, the Akhanda Bharat from Afghanistan onwards to south to Myanmar and Siam Desh. So you look at that side. While in case of Islam and Christianity, if you falsify the very basis of their godhood, then the religion collapses. If you say that whether Jesus was born of Virgin Mary or not, if somebody destroys that particular story, Christianity collapses. It doesn't. If you say I don't believe in Jesus, you cannot get liberation because you must accept Jesus is the Son of God. In our case, it doesn't matter whether Jesus is Son of God or not. We respect the person because person is good. So that then, if you go to Islam, if you accept that Prophet Muhammad is the only prophet of Allah, and what he says is the ultimate word of God, you cannot get liberation. So this the middlemen, as you might call them, or the people who will lead you to God, must be accepted. Their stories must be accepted. Only then you can qualify for liberation. In our case, no, I can be anybody. I can love anybody. I can worship anybody. I can follow any path, and I'm guaranteed I will go the way. Whether I have some middle prophet or I have some smaller gods or gurus, it is up to me whether to go directly to God by my own self experience or go to some other guru. But it doesn't make my life any different whether the personalities you talk about are mythical or real. All the gods, the way they've been defined, basically are symbolically defined. Once we understand the symbolism behind those gods, we know God is one. It is the way I want to look at the God, the way I can be comfortable with the God. As I said earlier, also, whether I'm into devotion of Meera or I'm into dance and happiness of Krishna, or whether I'm in Maryada Purushottam Ram, or whether I like the quietness of Buddha, it's up to me. So I will choose that God. If I feel a mother-like figure, I'll go for Mahakali. So this option of us to look at the Supreme One God in various ways is a plus point. And this plus point makes it very strong. So no historicity is required for us to believe in our culture, believe in our religion, and believe in our dharma. That is the biggest plus point that we have, and that is the reason, in spite of so many attacks, theoretical, intellectual, physical, we have survived.
no, that's
So if
true.
the temples are destroyed, we could worship at home. If scriptures are destroyed, we could just work on a shloka and still gain mukti. So this open structure they talk about, open architecture they talk about, and the way we look at the entire gamut of spirituality, no other religion, I would dare say, have that freedom and that easygoing, way of looking at the God. I can play with the God. I can laugh with God. I can cry with God. I can call him a son or a father. In no other religion you can do that. That is our strength. That is why we are happy people. If the religion tells you not to be happy, don't enjoy music, don't enjoy this, don't enjoy blah blah blah, because there is something after the death, then your entire life goes into a very sultry mood. So what is the use of religion? The reason why people dislike religion is because they believe religion makes you sour, religion makes you militant, religion makes you exclusivist, religion makes you sick. So this feeling of religion, the way it has been interpreted, is not that is the reason religion is supposed to be bad. If you go by the Hindu way of looking at religion, there is nothing bad in it. It's a wonderful emotional hook. It's a wonderful spiritual hook on which you can enjoy your life.
See, one of the major flaws in the way Hindus describe their faith is coming from S. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan's book, Hinduism as a Way of Life, and many people have repeated it. But in the West, when you say a way of life, that means it's not a religion. Therefore, the Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, they don't consider Hinduism as a religion, and that's a fact. And that's why the Sikh, they call themselves a religion, because they say it's a religion by the book.
But under the Hindu umbrella, we have got 100 kind of religions. We have no problem with that.
Yeah, but the see, we have to understand how these Abrahamic people think, or what criteria they have made. So in the USA and also in British Hindus, they say that we have one main book and we have many other supporting books. Like Ramayana Mahabharata is a history. Bhagavad Puran is a compilation of Purana, and the other 18 Puran, these are all histories. But our main book is still Bhagavad Gita. And when you put that way, then like in USA, I would like to say Judeo-Christian Hindu country, because Hinduism is the fourth largest religion in USA today. And also it's growing a lot on its own without any prachar. So when we say that we are a way of life, that means it is as good as American way of life. The Hindu way of life, American way of life. Now there is a conflict over there. So most of these religious organizations or grouping, including Islamic Ummah, they call themselves, because nowadays in between Islam was also calling itself as a way of life, but now they have called themselves as a religion. So when the Abrahamic faiths, so we have to make a little bit change in our community also, where the religion is accepted from a book, then we have the best one, Bhagavad Gita. And when that happens, then I think Hinduism or Sanatan Dharma or Hinduitva will become a mainstream, because
I'll give an example.
yeah.
I don't know whether many people are aware that in Indonesia, Hindus, as naturally have many gods in Indonesia, go there, it is full of temples, it is full of various Hindu gods and ways of life and ways of faith, different faiths. So the Indonesian government, being an Islamic government, would not recognize Hindus as a community, as a religion, because they didn't have one God, one book. For them, it is not a religion if you don't have one God and one book. So for many years, this stalemate was going on. Then finally, all the Hindus came together there and decided that we will have, we'll do something which will convince the government that we are one religion. So they decided that one God is Mahadev, Shivji, and they have their one book, Gita, and they believe in one God called Shivji. So with that particular resolution, somewhere a few years back, they declared themselves Hindus, believing in one God called Shiva. Every other God is okay, fine. I mean, this is our main God and this is our God. So that is how temple was built, and that is how Hinduism was recognized in Indonesia. And not only that, it became very big religion in Indonesia. Many tribes who did not want to be identified with Christianity or Islam declared themselves Hindus, because they also had the same problem. They didn't have one God. They didn't have typically, approach of what religion has been looked upon by Islam or Christianity. And many of them joined Hinduism, declared themselves Hindus. So they found a way out. So every society in the world, we will not change our very basic tenets of pluralism. But within that, everybody has a right to declare themselves Hindus in a different way. Because if we try to semitize that particular thing into one God and one book, the beauty of Hinduism will be lost. But yes, as I said, ways that we find in different places in different ways, where that local society will feel. Now, USA is an open society. USA is not an Islamic or Christian country in that sense. So for them to understand the way of life of Hinduism, which accepts plurality, which accepts so many principles, life has talked about karma and punarjanma, etc., or rebirth, which is also accepted by a huge number of Americans. So either they will declare them as Hindus if they start believing in the very basic tenets of Hindu Dharma, and you will find that Hindu Dharma is accepted then. When we say that we believe in one God and we believe in our Vedas and our Gita, and we have these tenets of pluralism, of believing in one God in multiple forms, and respect for the religions, and worshipping the nature and worshipping our elders, etc., etc. These are the principles on which our dharma stands, and anybody believes in that rebirth and karma is also part of our religion.
See, many
After all,
Hindus,
Americans have started believing. No, many of them have started believing.
no, there is a
But we
bigger
have to
number.
tell them they have to tell the people who have come out of uh, that exclusivist mindset and start being more comfortable sense of rebirth or karma or nature worship or pluralism. You tell them this is Hinduism. Once you tell them, they'll be happy to identify themselves as Hindus.
So there are more American Hindus than Hindus from India. This is a
Yes,
given fact. But they
but they don't know they are Hindus.
on the census,
Many of them,
no, no,
you have to tell them that yes, what you do is actually Hindu.
no, most of them know because they do it with knowledge. So if they go yoga, they know it's a Hinduism. But on the census, they don't write that. On the census, they write as unaffiliated, spiritual.
See, the day they realize that yoga is not just exercise, yoga is way of attaining supreme bliss and supreme happiness and reaching the godhood. The day they accept that, they will realize that yes, Hindu is the way of life, and Hindu is the way to go and declare themselves Hindus.
Yeah, on the US census, they have to write that they are a Hindu. Like even the most of the Indians don't like. They write over there Indians. Now Indians, if they know the word Indian, the European settlers killed so many of them, calling them as Indians.
Yes,
Now
yes,
in the Judeo-Christian America, may have the church separation from the state, but now religion is creeping in after Islam in a big way because now the Islamic they want to maintain their Islamic identity in the US government also. And you can see with the likes of the two or three political reps in the US. Whereas there are so many Indians there, Amy Bera, and there were other people over there, they refuse to even acknowledge that they are from India. Their
yes.
parents are Hindus. They call themselves as
Yes,
Christians.
one of your candidates tries to be more black than the black. She's trying to disown her roots. The roots are there only to tell Indians to fool Indians, but basically she's declared as a black, and she has criticized India. She has criticized our people. So naturally, anyone who does not have faith in his roots or her roots cannot be a good leader. See,
Well,
Obama was very clear. He was unapologetic about his past, about his roots. That is what strengthened our belief in Obama. So unless you are able to assert that this is my root, good or bad, and I have come through that, you'll have the same problem.
well,
That a leader who does not recognize, has lack of confidence in one's root, cannot be a good leader in my mind.
her way of rise to the top has been very shady. If she calls herself a Hindu, then it will be a very shameful thing for Hindus because I think the way she has risen to the top, I don't want to name it here, but people understand and what circumstances and how she rose to the top.
Now, I wouldn't get into that. I would just say that if you are unable to accept your roots, then you have some deep psychological issue, and then you cannot be a good leader. I appreciated Obama for that. He did not deny his Islamic, ancestry. He did not deny his African roots, and he rose with confidence, and we loved it. We liked that particular stance, and that is the way everybody should be. Like in India, Modi was most bold and never embarrassed about worshipping, whether going to temples or whether going to Ganga. He had no compunction of taking leaders there. That confidence in oneself is what makes you a good leader.
Well, in this election, Joe Biden doesn't want to come out of his basement also because he's scared of the COVID-19. It's a very funny election. in the US, where the opposition leader doesn't want to come out of the basement. And so I think Hindus in the USA, I think if you all of you are listening and many Americans who are listening right now live, for you, I can say one thing in this discussion, what you can draw is that be proud to be a Hindu and also express yourself, especially in the
Yeah.
US census. Because in the US census, if you express yourself, then you will be counted as one. And then the state will give resources to help you promote your own faith. Right now, the state doesn't recognize you as a religion. And you may call yourself very proud American Hindu. You may have hundreds of temples in the US, but the state officially don't accept you, or any educational body won't accept you because they're all confused. When you say a way of life is gone, in India, that may work, but not in the US or in the British. But Ratanji, very informative discussion. Very well put your points, and we would like to
Thank
have you back with something more next time and soon. Not such a long gap. This has been a long gap, 4 weeks. Thank you,
Thank you so
viewers,
much.
for watching live, and
But you have been very active. You have brought on some very brilliant people on our show, and they have done wonderful conversation with you. Nowhere compared to those great scholars you have gotten, and that's a wonderful way of putting across our views.
no,
So,
thank
congrats
you.
to you.
For us, you are the biggest star puller here. So, so with that, we end the show here. Viewers, do watch this video on YouTube when it goes live and subscribe. And right now we have 800 viewers here. Do go to YouTube, subscribe and like, and press the bell icon so that you can uh, store all the exciting content that we regularly bring in. Namaskar. Thank you.
Thank you so much.